like a minute to just make sure it's working before
Okay.
we go. And I just tweeted about it. And
just to
so we're now broadcasting, just so you know. But go ahead.
Yeah, just to get things off. I'm Jeff, and that's Dave and Devindra. I don't know if we've all exchanged names yet. But,
sorry, Jeff. I apologize.
That's okay.
This is Jeff Kanata.
Hi.
Perfect.
You may have heard of him from...
No, probably not.
Jeff is everywhere.
He did a show called the Totally Rad Show on Revision 3.
I'm a fan of all of you guys. I'm an avid reader of slash film. This is my bread and butter. I actually just wrote a script that has a slash film video blogger in it.
Oh, and,
wow.
Yeah, so yeah. It was,
I hope incredibly flatteringly.
I am available for that the casting. If
let's get you in there.
Yeah, baby. You need a me type.
a Jeff Kanata type. All right. So I think the chat room is running and live, and I think we're about to go. So one note. So I think the way we're going to do this tonight.
Where would I go on the? Can I see the chat room?
Yeah, I tweeted about it, so you can go. You can click on it and just mute the video when you get there. Otherwise, you'll hear double. Okay.
And you can pop out the YouTube chat too.
You can pop out the YouTube chat. That's pretty useful.
There's a little option there.
All right. So before we get started, I think we're going to do this a little bit differently than usual. Because we have Paul Scheer here, so we gotta. I think I have the Wikipedia page for the movie up, and I think I'll just read through segments of the plot, and then we can just talk about each segment individually, if that's okay with you guys. But maybe we can start with overall thoughts, and then go plot point by plot point.
Sure,
sounds good,
and that'll be the whole episode. So
great.
All right, here we go. We got a nice group going here. Do you see the chat, Paul? Do you see people?
You know what? I don't know who because I don't know who tweeted about it. Oh, here it is. All right, great.
I tweeted.
So I'm on David.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still getting everybody's name and voices to match up. So all right. So hold on one second. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I can see it too. All right. So I'm going on the live stream, right? That's where I'm going.
Yeah, and just make sure you pause the video when you get there.
Yeah.
Pausing the video. Great. And now I see the whole thing. Yeah. Boom. I'm in it. Let's do it.
Cool.
Yeah. You see Martin Clifford saying, "Hey, Paul, tell me you love me. Thanks." That.
I see. Should I be going to the bottom or the top? Because right now I see at the top Brian Davids.
Yeah.
At the bottom I see Matty D.
Yeah. You're
Todd
good.
Shoemaker.
Yeah.
People
are
Jeff Grubb.
Jeffrey Grubb is here.
Let's just spend 2 hours just saying people's names.
Shout out.
All right. Here we go.
All right. Here we go.
Here we go. We're about ready to begin. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. I'm David Chen, and with me are...
Devindra Hardwar.
Jeff Kanata.
And joining us today, we have a very special guest. You may have seen him in works such as The League, as well as Fresh Off the Boat. This year, you can catch him in HBO's original series, Veep. He also has a wildly successful and popular podcast called How Did This Get Made? Paul Scheer, welcome back to the Slash Filmcast. Paul, how are you doing today?
Gentlemen, I am so excited to be here. I want you to know something. You made me face my greatest fear by seeing this film. There are 2 words that I muted on Twitter, and I did this way before I talked to you about this. It was Transformers and Trump. Those are the 2 words that I've muted.
Are you serious about this?
You could have just killed.
Serious.
Paul, you could have just killed 2 birds with one stone there and just muted America.
You know what it was, and simply this. And I will say it. Transformers was the first word I ever muted because it's like, oh, can I mute Transformers? Because I thought to myself, this is the franchise I care least about. Like I have issues with DC movies. I love Marvel movies, but I don't care at all. I don't care what Autobot is in a thing. I have seen 3 of these and been disappointed every single time, and I checked out. And then you guys brought me back in, like The Godfather 3, to see this film. And I have so much. I don't know how much the mythology continues from when I last saw it.
Well, before we get to that, firstly, Paul, we were right there with you. Okay.
Yes.
We had watched 4 of these movies, and we were out. We were out of there. We didn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But we thought to ourselves, hey, Maybe there's a way we can figure out a way to do this while not feeling terrible about ourselves. And the way we did that was we launched a GoFundMe campaign, which you graciously helped us to promote. You can find it at gofundme.com/formers. And we set a very modest goal of $500. And we thought to ourselves, okay, if $500 goes to LA Children's Hospital as a result of this podcast, we can live with seeing Transformers 5 the last night. And in fact, our listeners collectively all banded together and have contributed at this point over $6,800 to Los Angeles Children's Hospital.
Insanity.
So you guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks, Paul, for helping us advertise this thing. And we really appreciate everyone who donated money. Now, you might be sitting there listening to this podcast episode. You haven't donated yet. And you're thinking to yourself, well, it's too late. I can't donate anymore. And I'm already listening to the episode that this is supporting. Disabuse yourself of that notion now. You can still go.
Also, you should know that $6,800, it turns out, is almost not enough for us to have watched this.
It's barely enough, but yeah, you're right, Jeff. It really should be a higher amount.
Yeah.
Well, I also will say too, just for people who are afraid, they go, I don't have enough money to donate. People are donating $5. That's fine. Get that $5 in there because it does make a difference, and that's a worthy. It's worthy. $5 is chump change.
Yeah,
we'll get it in there. We'll get up to 7,000.
It's like a latte.
Yeah.
It's a latte at Starbucks or something. But in any case, thanks so much for contributing. And if you're listening to this, you haven't donated yet, but I'm going to pull one of those street performer things on you. If you listen to this and you get enjoyment out of it, go to gofundme.com/formers. That's gofundme.com/formers and throw in some cash.
And if it's unclear, every single penny of this is going to LA Children's Hospital, which is the place you may have heard Jimmy Kimmel talk about on his show about how they basically saved his son's life, and they do that for all kinds of kids. It's really an amazing place, and literally every penny of this is going to that. So
nothing for the Slash Filmcast or for Paul. It's all for LA Children's Hospital. Yeah,
and I am also a giant fan of that hospital. It's an amazing facility, and we've had so many friends that have had superior care for their children there. So I'm a big fan.
All right, well,
and the one thing that we should definitely make sure though is that none of those kids see Transformers because they will get sicker.
Yes.
We need to protect them from this. If anything, we need to be making better movies for these kids.
Agreed completely. Well, you can find more episodes of this podcast at slashfilmcast.com. You can also email us at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. And today is going to be a special episode because this is a GoFundMe episode. We got Paul Scheer here. We're not going to do our normal format. Instead, we are just going to take apart this movie, Transformers: The Last Night, piece by piece. So let's get into it, shall we?
Well, now, gentlemen, I had one quick question for you, because I know we're going to talk a lot about what infuriated us about this film. And I just thought maybe before we begin, if we just went around the horn and everyone just said one thing that they really liked about the movie. Is there one thing? Because, I feel like, let's start it off on a positive note here, because it's probably gonna get darker than we need it to be. But what was one or two things that you guys all liked?
I think that's totally reasonable.
Thank God for Paul.
Thank God for Paul. So let's say also before we get into this that we are probably going to spoil plot points about Transformers. We're not gonna have a spoiler section. We're just gonna spoil everything. We're gonna spoil the plot insofar as such a plot can be spoiled. Which I don't know that that's super possible. But in any case, all right, Paul. I'll start us off. This is one of the shortest Transformers films ever made.
What? I did not know that.
Yeah.
It felt so long.
Yeah, it was. I think it's the shortest one, except for the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
I have one. I have a compliment that's not backhanded.
Okay.
I saw this movie at a press screening, and they showed it in true IMAX 3D, and as a true. Not Limax. No, this was on a massive screen, and there are a bunch of shots in this movie, not all in a row, but there are a bunch of shots in this movie that are in real IMAX, shot with IMAX cameras in IMAX 3D, and that format is absolutely jaw-dropping. To see on that size of a screen the 3D effects with great projection. the sense of scale that this movie brings in that format. There was actually some moments that I just was so in awe of the format itself. So I thought actually that was kind of cool.
All right, Jeff's chimed in with his positivity. How about you, Devindra? Say something nice about Transformers: The Last Night.
I have to say, I kind of miss Michael Bay's really low-angle car chase stuff, and that just looks so good. Like, guys, I genuinely love Bad Boys 2. I think that is a really fun, crazy movie with some great chase scenes, and The Rock also had some. And Michael Bay, like, when he's focused, he knows how to shoot action. So like there are some sequences, and there's no like one chase scene in this movie, but there are several sequences where we're like right behind a really fast moving gorgeous car, and it was pretty cool. And I have to also echo Jeff's sentiments. The scale, there's some bits here where the scale is really cool because these are giant robots and there's like a planet sized thing coming at us, and I wish all the talent and all the like money and technology that went into doing those scenes was in service of a better script or something.
How about you, Paul? Your favorite thing about Transformers?
I have two things. They're a little separate, but I think they work in tandem. I'm going to say the first hour of this movie, I was like, oh, why am I so harsh on this movie? I actually think I enjoyed the first hour before there were like 9 million robots. I think the one thing I would like to point out as a scene I liked the most was the Con Air scene where where the bad robot, and I'm sorry that I'm like forgetting robots' names, where the bad robot's like, Megatron. He's like, Megatron's like, get all my guys out of jail. And I loved like that whole sequence where it was like, this bad guy, this bad guy.
It was a Suicide Squad is another comparison, yeah.
Exactly. I just only try to compare things to good things. Nice. But and then I also will say, and this is something
my favorite thing about that though was the payoff to that cool Suicide Squad introduction was, oh wait, there was no payoff. Sorry, go ahead.
The thing that I also think about this movie was I like the actors. I think that Mark Wahlberg, like, God bless this guy, he doesn't phone it in. Like, I really feel like he is working hard. I thought Anthony Hopkins brought it as much as you can bring it with the dumbest dialogue ever spoken, like the most on the surface dialogue. They both were committing. I love that Gerard was in it. Gerard Carmichael, who is super funny. But did you guys feel that way? Because I feel like when I watched Mark Wahlberg, I was like, oh, wow, there's nothing here. And he's pretty like convincingly talking to these robots. I don't know what it was about him. I feel like Mark Wahlberg really excels against CGI in a way that I would never have expected him to.
It does feel like
you're saying that next to robots, he seems so lifelike.
It feels like the SNL Mark Wahlberg personality. Yeah. The say hi to your mother, Mark Wahlberg thing.
I think what I liked, and that's maybe more to the point. I like this version of Mark Wahlberg where he's kind of being shit on, and he's like kind of like, hey, come on, guy. Like he's not super cool, even though he is. But he's like everyone's kind of dumping on him a little bit.
He hasn't had sex in years.
Yes,
he looks like Mark Wahlberg.
I know.
This character has not had sex in years. What?
Look, he's in a garbage dump with Gerard and the chief of police out there. I think that made me like him. I felt like it's so hard to do, and I think by the end of Transformers, you felt like that what's his face Shia was like basically just flicking off the audience, like, why are you still coming to this? Like, because I'm not even caring enough. And I do feel like Mark Wahlberg's like, no, I'm in this movie and I'm going to do everything in my power to deliver it. I mean, that's how I felt.
Yeah. He certainly had great hair.
Yeah.
Amazing hair. I thought it could be cut a little bit. It looked a little bit unkempt for my liking.
I think the CG has come so far that Mark Wahlberg's hair looks amazing now. Like we just invest so much money into realistic Mark Wahlberg hair, and I really dig it. And to what you're saying, Paul, I do like that we are basically just shitting on this character whose name is Cade Yeager. And
Cade Yeager, best name in cinema.
Yeager. But that's something Tom Cruise's character in The Mummy kind of needed, because I don't know if you've seen that movie, but that character is great at everything, and apparently he is still like very much into talking about his sexual performance, and that's weird. That is weird.
Yeah.
I think that actually I wanted to compliment Anthony Hopkins, because Anthony Hopkins looks like he's having a blast.
Yes, he looks
in
like
this
he's
movie.
having so much fun in this film. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing himself from Westworld, but he looks like he's just having so much fun getting to like curse, and there's like a sequence where he's in a car and it just looks like he's like, I've never been in a car this fast before, you know?
Does he say punk ass bitch? I wrote that down at one point. Yes. And I was like, great. I was like, that's also like the beauty of Michael Bay, because Michael Bay, like, he casts good actors for the most part in these big leading roles, and I feel like you get Sean Connery gave this amazing performance in The Rock, and I feel like I don't know, I think he brings like a playful side out of these guys, because I think they all realize what they're doing. I don't know. I did a video with Michael Bay one time for an award show, and he's a very intense, lovable guy, and he told me like how he just like he just takes every actor to task, even Sean Connery. He basically, like, Sean Connery did a line reading. He's like, "Is that what you're gonna give me, man? You got to step it up, man. You got to step it up, and you got to deliver." And I was like, "Wow!" Like, could you imagine him like yelling at Anthony Hopkins? You know, he did.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Probably. You know, I was at the at CES one year. I was at that thing, the Samsung keynote where Michael Bay had to speak, and he came out on stage and the teleprompter wasn't working. He just froze, and he was like, "Nope, can't do this. Sorry." So I feel like somebody had to yell at him to like get those lines out. Come on.
I remember watching the commentary for The Rock, which, in my opinion, Bad Boys 2 is very, very fun, but in my opinion, The Rock is probably, in my book, Michael Bay's last great film.
Pain Again is pretty great too, but yeah.
But he was talking about how Ed Harris delivers an awesome performance in that film, and how that was a challenge, because Michael Bay, when The Rock came out, was like 30 years old,
right?
And Ed Harris was 50, and it takes a lot, for a director to be able to like convincingly direct someone who's decades older than him. When this guy Ed Harris has seen everything by that point. But I thought he got a great performance out of Ed Harris. You compare Ed Harris's performance to Anthony Hopkins' performance in this movie. That comparison also chronicles the path of Michael Bay's career from then to here, in my opinion.
I love that people tuned into this episode so excited to hear us rip this movie to shreds. And we spent 25 minutes just talking about how nice it is and how good, the things we like. I love that.
I think Paul is actually a sleeper agent who was he was sent here to infiltrate us and make us actually say good things about this movie. Thanks.
All right.
Well, but, I think it's good too, because it's like, look, these movies are so giant, and I feel like, and there are good elements to them, but they just, what I think happens to me about this movie is this. It's like a ramp up. Like, I'm in there, and that first hour, I'm like, okay, this is kind of not as bad as I thought. It's kind of like a kid's movie, but it's a robot movie. That's kind of fun. And then they just suck you dry. So like every next half hour feels longer than the last. Like, first half hour flies by. Second half hour, all right, you're there. Third half hour, it's getting slower. By the time you hit that 2 hour mark, you're like, well, I looked at my watch so many times in the last 40 minutes of this movie. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, there's 12 half hours is the problem.
Yeah, it just gets, why do these movies need to be so long? Like,
they don't
I don't think you even saw... I don't think you even saw Transformers 4: Age of Extinction, right? Have you seen that movie?
No, I've seen only the Shia movies. I never saw Mark Wahlberg.
Transformers: Age of Extinction was 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Jeez.
I mean, that is just a rough amount of time.
I'm actually still in that movie. I'm still watching that movie right now.
Yeah, we're all still watching it as we're recording this. But, okay, agreed with you. They're overlong, they're bloated, and the plot makes no sense. But why don't we dive into it, guys? Let's dive into the plot of it. So we've all said good things. What we're going to do is we're just going to go through the plot. It's on Wikipedia. They've written out a very detailed plot summary, and we're going to go through each section piece by piece. So,
can I say one thing before we start, Dave?
Yep.
It occurred to me that it felt like, and this hasn't been the case for me with the previous Transformers, but this one in particular felt like, that there's an improv game that a lot of people like play at camp or something, where someone starts telling a story and then someone else picks up that story.
Yep.
And then you just see how off the rails the story goes.
Like a story carousel, yeah.
Yeah, inevitably somebody completely, invalidates something or pulls some crazy ass thing out of the, and then King Arthur shows up, and it's like, what, that's how this movie felt to me. That it was constantly being handed off to some other insane person that wanted to just spin it off into another direction. It was crazy.
I think
I will say that the opening of this movie made me laugh so hard. I mean, besides Optimus flying in space, it opens up. It's like the Dark Ages. I'm like, what? Okay, I'm in. I'm in. The Dark Ages. That's what we're starting. Great.
And then we get like drunk ass Stanley Tucci. It's like,
oh
what?
my god.
So he was in Age of Extinction too, so it's very confusing.
The movie begins
I really thought that Merlin should have been John Turturro, by the way, and that would have he's like been ageless, and you realize that was him the entire time.
That would have been pretty incredible. In 484 A.D., King Arthur's wizard Merlin forges an alliance with the Knights of Iacon, a group of 12 Transformers who have hidden on Earth. The Knights give Merlin an alien staff and combine into a dragon to help Arthur triumph over the Saxons.
But that's already more coherent than what we actually get at the beginning.
Oh yeah, they don't explain, who is fighting who, what's at stake. You're just.
And by the way, also that opening sequence is like Saving Private Ryan. They did not have artillery the way that these men were being flown and like across the screen. It was like he was like, yeah, we got to shoot. It's a battle sequence, but it was like Dunkirk level battle sequence for no weapons. Like
Dunkirk, a movie by the way that is 40 minutes shorter than Transformers: The Last Night. So. But yeah, it's crazy that they just thrust you into this situation with no explanation. It actually reminds me of King Arthur, the Guy Ritchie movie that came out this year. They also thrust you into this massive battle at the beginning of that film, but you actually understood with some level of baseline knowledge what was actually going on in that scene. In this scene, drunk Stanley Tucci, who is a apparently womanizing drunk gambler. Merlin is a fraud. Yeah, Merlin is a fraud and hires these Transformers to help them triumph over the Saxons. So this staff is given to.
Can I also say one thing? I'm not sorry to keep on.
No, please.
Do you think that this whole wave, the reason why this started in the Dark Ages is because Michael Bay in that writers' room of Transformers, where they have 50 million amazing writers, come here, get in here and shit something out, but where they go all right, guys. Game of Thrones is really popular. We got to open up with Game of Thrones. I feel like they were it's part Game of Thrones too. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's I think the reason King Arthur, people don't want to see medieval times. They want to see Game of Thrones. They don't but people are no. We like all that stuff. The horses and swords. Cool.
I think it's actually, Paul, Michael Bay's desire to have Transformers responsible for every single human development in the history of mankind.
This is going to be a 2001 situation. Yeah.
So between, King Arthur, killing Hitler, and also you find out, by the way, in Age of Extinction, that they were responsible for killing the dinosaurs. Really, there would be no modern humanity without Transformers.
Dark of the Moon, remember? The space program.
Oh, they were part of the space landing? Yeah.
Getting to the moon for them.
It was their idea to build the pyramids in Revenge of the Fallen. So
why do we know all this?
I spent too much time thinking about Transformers 5. Okay, so I think what we're concluding that the opening segment was batshit insane. And
it did look cool in IMAX, though. But yes, it was batshit insane.
Were you guys noticing? I watched it in regular no D or 2D, and the ratio changed every 5 seconds. I felt like I was. Is that something that was normally happening? Did anyone else notice that?
Yeah, there was no fewer than 50 aspect ratio changes during the course of this movie. Yeah,
that's the first time I've ever really noticed anything like that. Also, another question about this opening. Did they always carry swords? Is that a thing that they always have? Or did
Optimus
they just
has a sword? Yes,
Optimus has a sword in his arm. Yeah, but are you talking about the staff that he gives him?
Well, no, because I felt like there were. Maybe it was Optimus's sword. I don't know. I just felt like swords were a lot more present in this world of Transformers. I don't remember them all having sheathed swords.
Those were Dark Age Transformers, so they didn't have gun technology yet.
Yeah,
so kind of how it works.
Wait, are you saying that those Transformers didn't?
Yeah, Transformer weapon technology,
like a rock shooting device, you shoot a million rocks at it.
They have shoot the humans the guns.
They have trebuchet technology back then.
Oh man, I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump ahead to the end either. But what does the staff do?
Oh, the staff.
What does it do?
Magical powers.
I don't know, man.
It calls the three-headed dragon robot, right?
It doesn't, because Optimus got that without the staff.
It's the key
Oh,
to
it's
unlocking
she needs
energy.
the woman needs it to stop the Quintessa, right?
Right,
Yeah.
she needs it. We know that everybody needs it.
Quintessa's such a ripoff of the Borg Queen that I've ever seen. And I was like, this is just right out of First Contact.
Yeah,
It's
Star
like,
Trek
it's
First
crazy.
Contact, yeah. All right, so anyway, in the present day, most of the governments of Earth have declared Transformers illegal, except Cuba. Let's pause there for a moment.
Oh, that was terrible. Right at the top. You get the racist robots like right at the top. It was like, hey, like it was like then he is like he says like hola amigo, like it's like a bad like Spanish radio station. Right?
There is a Transformer in this movie that it behaves exactly like Pepe Le Pew. That is the whole Transformers character. Is he's Pepe Le Pew? So I will say, other than that, though,
I think you mean Speedy Gonzalez, but okay.
No. I'm saying separately later on in the movie, Anthony Hopkins.
But the best thing about Cuba is that John Turturro only exists in that movie in a phone booth in Cuba. Like,
I will only shoot this movie if you send me to the beach.
He's
and I'm only wearing shorts the whole time.
literally phoning it in.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, I want to steal one joke from the forum because Jim McVeigh wrote, and this is I think really good. He goes, "What did Transformers transform to in ancient times? Horse carts."
Yeah, that would be an awesome sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were they? They were so basically until cars became a thing, they were just giant ass robots that couldn't hide anywhere.
They were exactly what meets the eye.
Anyway, the multinational Transformer Reaction Force has been formed to eliminate all the alien robots. Despite the absence of Optimus Prime, who left the planet to search for his creator, but for some reason is frozen through space. Anyway, new Transformers continue to arrive regularly. The newest ship to arrive crash lands in Chicago, where it is found by a group of children. When a TRF mecha confronts the kids, they are saved by Isabella, a survivor.
I got that. I don't even think I got that. Like, I thought that Chicago was like kind of like boarded off, and they just were going in there to see. I didn't think that was a new ship. That
I agree, Paul. I'm right there with you.
Michael Bay visual storytelling.
I'm right there with you, Paul. I thought I didn't, but it does explain.
Cheating. Reading this plot summary is kind of cheating.
Yeah,
it's like giving you the Cliff's Notes of the actual.
It's way
movie.
too focused.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I'm talking about the movie that was not.
This is by the way, this is just Akiva Goldsmith on Wikipedia going. All right, I'll just get in there. I'll tell him what to actually.
When a
His
script
was actually 5 pages long, and they just made a 2.5-hour movie.
When a TRF mecha confronts the kids, they are saved by Isabella, a survivor of the Battle of Chicago, and her Transformers companions, Squeaks and Canopy. But Canopy is killed by the TRF in the process. Bumblebee.
By the way, what a sad sequence when Canopy got that. Like,
yeah,
again, this is the part of the movie that I liked because it's like. I like when it was like one robot and they were talking and they like we're in a world where robots exist. There was something about that opening like ripoff of Stranger Things again, like I feel like whatever was popular, but I wrote down some dialogue in here too.
Well, my favorite line is, "Hey, we're kids. We can get away with anything."
That's literally the dialogue is next level stupid. We're kids. We can do anything. It's like, you dummy. Like this is like, and like then there's another line. It's like, you have a big heart. Like it was like just exposition as dialogue. It was, and it wasn't even finessed exposition. It was great. It was like, yeah, that's it. That's fine.
Well, what's fascinating?
Also, all of those kids. We think we're in a movie about this ragtag group of kids, and there's one who has a crush on the other one, and they literally disappear.
They vanish for 80% of the movie. It's ridiculous because if you watch one of the trailers for Transformers the last night, it is about Isabella. Like the trailer makes it seem like the movie is about her journey, and that would have
She takes an hour off.
Yeah, that would have been like potentially an interesting Spielbergian story to see like this world of Transformers from her eyes. It would have been like kind of a fresh reboot, but nope. Got to go back to the Wahlberg.
By the way, like what happened to Wahlberg's daughter that she wasn't in it? Is it like the same thing with like T.J. Miller? It's like, oh yeah, we didn't get them to sign on for the next movie, or like
no clue.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
like they
no
just
idea.
disappeared out of. They're just gone.
Maybe one movie was enough for her. She's like, I got better things to do, like gardening instead of appearing.
I have my beach house.
Literally anything else. So Bumblebee and Kate Yeager arrive and help them escape, but Yeager's unable to save the Transformer Steelbane in the ship. Before he died,
I will say when Wahlberg appears, he's like Han Soloed out. Like he's in like a leather. Like I thought that was a good entrance for like him. in that moment. I was like, oh wow, he's like really just Han Solo here. He's just like being super cool dude, firing guns. I didn't know this character, so for me, it was a great introduction to this guy. I was like, I was on board with it.
Yeah, it was.
But
Pretty,
isn't it a weird place to start? We're in this like post-apocalyptic, very depressing, ultra-militarized version of the world, where all of a sudden, like, things have gotten so bad so fast that we're now in this like. It really feels like we're in Terminator, you know?
It's the bad X-Men timeline that we're always trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But also, like, how many goddamn times did the Transformers save the world? They were working with the U.S. government several times, and now they're all illegal, and now they're all on the road. Okay.
By the way, I mean the ham-fisted thing of the illegals too. It's like everything that's like in the zeitgeist right now. It's like illegals, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, get it all in there. Like Michael Bay is just kicking closed the closet door, and it's like, yeah, the script is hold it as tight as you can.
So before he dies, Steelbane attaches a metallic talisman to Yeager's body, an act observed by Decepticon Barricade, who reports it to his leader, Megatron.
Okay,
is the sitting in his throne room, which like didn't seem like he was hiding at all. It just seemed like he was just kind of like shooting fire, getting mad, kind of a lesser version of not Darth Sidious, who's the new one in Force Awakens? Snoke, yeah. Very Snoke-like, just out there kind of mad at everybody. But yeah, so he's in hiding, Megatron? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I think. He escaped at the end of Transformers Age of Extinction.
Like the TV show, he always escapes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Is the talisman a transformer?
I think it's so.
It does transform.
Mark Wahlberg definitely fucked that talisman because it goes down his pants.
That's a weird sequence.
Around his arm into his pants, and he stands there and does nothing. While inevitably you're left to believe as an audience member, it's wrapping around his junk. Like it's wrapping around everything down there. And he just kind of gives a look to that girl who looks exactly like Megan Fox. By the way, way to go, Michael Bay, for casting women who look exactly like. I was like, you just cast Megan Fox, British Megan Fox. She looks at her like, yeah, I got a robot talisman around my penis right now. It was the craziest scene. We'll get to it.
But
I think you're discounting the fact that this Megan Fox has a British accent.
Yes, I mean that was really the upgrade in this.
On the far reaches of the solar system, Optimus Prime discovers that the Transformers' homeworld, Cybertron, now disassembled to pieces, is heading directly for Earth. Optimus finds the being in control of Cybertron's movement, a sorceress named Quintessa, who professes to be the maker he's searching for.
I'm sorry to keep on cutting you off.
No, please.
There's two things. When Mark Wahlberg goes into that alien spaceship to deal with that robot, he takes off a breathing apparatus on the robot's face, and I'm like, what? Why does the robot need a breathing apparatus? He doesn't need to breathe. He's a robot. Like, just rip that thing off his face. Like, and you see him rip it off. He's like, psh, oh, yes. And like, I'm like, wait, why is he breathing anything? He's a robot.
Yeah.
I also had an issue. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I also had an issue that Mark Wahlberg's Jeep had doors, but they weren't doors. They were just a frame of a door. So there was nothing there. So why even have the frame of the door? It was just two pieces of piping. And I was like, that makes no sense. Just take it all off at this point. You're not protecting anything at this point.
This is the deep cuts of the nitpicks here.
Sorry, yeah.
No. It's good. It's all good. It's all good. That's what we're here for. We're here for, yeah.
You just mentioned the fact that Optimus goes to Cybertron and meets Quintessa. So, Paul, you may not know this, but at the end, spoilers for the end of the previous Transformers movie, but the end of the Transformers movie, triumphantly, Optimus Prime announces to everyone that Autobots, I'm leaving. That he shoots off. He says, "I'm going off to meet my maker," and that's how the movie ends. Like he triumphantly launches himself into space to meet his maker. And in this movie, he literally coasts through space.
He looks like he's incapacitated. Right?
Yeah, well, he's running out of fuel.
Yeah, I thought he was kicked into space by Superman or something. He just it looks like he was lost at sea out there.
Yeah, and he literally lands right there, right at his maker. He's he lands on a planet. You assume the planet's pretty large. Yeah, and he lands on her front doorstep.
Yep. Apparently without any guidance whatsoever, right?
Yeah, and so we assume that he's never met her before, or is this the first? Because it felt like his action to go there was like, I gotta go check in with my boss. It wasn't like I gotta go find out if civilization ever started. Like it seemed like it didn't seem like there was much pomp and circumstance if it was the first time he was meeting her.
I don't know much about Transformers lore, but yeah, apparently she says she built them, but we don't know beyond that. Like, she also wants to destroy Earth because also Earth is apparently Unicron, which that opens up a whole other boatload. Like, so I remember.
So Transformers are not only responsible for every historical development in human history. Earth is a transformer.
Earth is a giant machine.
Earth is a transformer. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really delved into that in this movie, but that's essentially what they're saying, because I think in the cartoon movies, Unicron is a big-ass transformer. He's planet-sized.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, anyway, so Paul, I'm going to keep going, but do feel free to interrupt, because that's what this is for. The staff which the knights gave to Merlin was stolen from Quintessa, and using her powers, she places Optimus under her control and charges him with recovering it.
Okay, whoa. Using her powers, she places Optimus under her control. What? Like, what happens to turn him into what does he call it? Nemesis Prime?
Yeah,
she's the programmer.
She looks into his eyes. She looks into his eyes. That's all that happens.
She's
by the
the
way,
programmer.
this
she touches his face.
I needed this description while I was watching it because I didn't get a lot of this, and I was paying attention. I was there. I mean, I was like, I didn't really even understand the transformation to Nemesis Prime until at the end when he was like, "I'm Nemesis Prime," and I was like, "Wait, when did that?" I didn't really even get that.
His eyes went red, and that's when all the little kids know the good guy goes bad.
Yeah. Well,
all their eyes are going red all the time. They're robots. I need something more. I need more than that.
Did you guys see? Matt Singer wrote this article called "Optimus Prime Has Always Been a Total Jerk." That I thought was really an awesome article. Basically, what he does is he goes through the entire history of Optimus Prime and all the Transformers films, and Optimus behaves deplorably during the course of the entire series.
Not a great leader.
Not a great leader. Like, he betrays Earth a bunch of times, or he already has been a villain in previous films. When he kind of partners with Megatron in like the last movie, but then like shoots his partner execution style. Like, he just does all these horrible things that already predispose him to being a terrible creature. But in this movie, the revelation that he is evil is meant to be like, whoa, oh my gosh, when in fact he's already been a dick throughout all the series. So.
Also, at the end of the movie, he literally has the line, "I vow I will never betray you again," which is like, oh, thanks. I guess we believe you now
until the script demands it.
The opportunity to I don't do impressions, but I do a good Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it's pretty
good. I feel like there's only 5 of these movies. We almost didn't do this. I feel like I need to do my Optimus Prime.
Yeah, this might be the last chance you have.
Let's do it.
Autobots, roll out. Pretty good, right?
It's pretty good, yeah.
Like the only impression I do. Anyway, go ahead.
Nice. All right, anyway. So TRF member and former Autobot ally, William Lennox, played by, Paul Dumel? Is that... What is
Josh
Duhamel, sorry.
Duhamel, yeah.
Brokers a deal between the TRF and Megatron.
I need to talk about this whole sequence.
Releasing from their custody a squad of Decepticons who will help Megatron recover the talisman from Jaeger.
This is the funniest and best sequence of the entire movie. So, like, they meet Megatron in the desert. They have these like little tables, and a bunch of lawyers are at these little tables, and they're like looking over their files. And Megatron and Josh Duhamel are kind of like, "Well, who do you want?" And then they just do. This is what I was saying. This is the sequence of the movie where they just kind of highlight all the racist robots, like Mohawk, super racist. Then one robot you see is like busted for robbery. And I was like, well, why is he even robbing banks? And they go, oh, he didn't even take the money. I'm like, then why are you doing it anyway? Like, to what end are you doing this? Like, he robs banks, but not for the money, just to rob them. Okay, weird. And then and then one thing was a triple murderer. And I was like, triple murder seems a little low for Transformers. Like, don't they like bust through buildings like that? And they're like, we'll put a GPS tracker on his leg. I'm like, a triple murderer, he should be like, he's fine, let him go. And then I got obsessed with the Transformer jails. I just love there are like tons of Transformer jails, and then and they're all their Transformers are terrible jailers. But I'm like, are they in there with other Transformers? Or are they in there with like humans, because if they're in there with humans, that's the movie I want to see, kind of like the Fast and Furious movies. I want to see that. I want to see that escape movie with like Schwarzenegger, the robot, and like Stallone, like whatever that is.
Also, that jail from Face Off, the magnet jail, like we need the Transformers there so they can't move.
Yes.
Like, clearly.
Yeah, they have magnetized feet or something like that.
Yeah, that's how it works.
What was the plan of the military guys? What were they doing letting them out exactly? They were going to let them out so they can follow them?
They need to get the talisman from Jaeger, because apparently the talisman holds the key to something. But also it is. But
also, like, they were not negotiating hard at all, because they're negotiating with a giant robot in the desert, and he's like, "I want this one," and they're like, "No," and he's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, you can have it." Like, they gave him everybody. Like, there was no. Their negotiation was just a show. He got everybody he wanted.
By the way, that's exactly how Jared Kushner's meeting with the Palestinians went this week.
Oh wow, topical.
Same.
Relevant.
But no, that's not true, Paul. Come on, let's give them some credit. They did deny the guy the most deadliest of the Decepticons. There's one scene where he's like, "How Megatron's like, how about this guy?" And they're like, "No, I'm sorry, we can't do that."
Yeah, there's one guy.
So there is one dude that they do decline.
We'll save him for the sequel.
Yeah, that's right.
Paul is absolutely right that this is by far the best sequence in the entire movie, because they make such a big deal naming all of these guys about. It's such a big deal that he's getting them out and assembling these crazy team, and they've all got stuff that we need to know about them, and we literally never see them again.
We see them and then they die. They die like immediately.
Yeah, so. like we never see them do any of their special abilities in any way. Like none of them are memorable in the final battle whatsoever.
No reason for any of them to be introduced to us.
Well, you take a 5-minute break to introduce all. Yeah, you introduce all this cast for no reason.
It's so crazy.
We did jump over one section of the movie that I really think is great, and this is where I'm totally honest, that I kind of enjoyed Cade Yeager back at his junkyard with Gerard and the robots. Is that John Goodman, one of the robots?
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi's there too. Yeah.
He's the robot that looks exactly like John Goodman.
John Goodman, yeah. If you're in LA, there's like a car insurance thing called like the General. He looks a little bit like the General too. But that sequence I really enjoyed. Like, I enjoyed the dinosaur robot eating the car, and he's like, "Hey, put that down, man. Hey, put that down." And I just, like, he can't control him, and everybody's, having a good time in this junkyard. There's something about that version of the movie that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. It could have been a very different movie.
Yeah. It just seemed like it just had like a lighter energy to it. But I guess every Transformers movie has to be about the end of the world, and like a zillion robots have to come in. But I think that this movie was at least good in the sense that not a zillion robots come in all the way, because it's like until the end. I just like it. I like it when it's a little bit more one-on-one, and you can like track the action a little bit better.
There's like a nice quiet indie drama we can make about the edges of this Transformers universe, I think.
Well, just wait. That might be what the next movie is. Travis Knight is directing the new Bumblebee spinoff to come out in 2018.
I turned down auditioning for that movie. I was like, come in for this? And I was like, no. I was like, I cannot audition
best
for
Transformer, though. Like, that would be the movie to go for.
Travis Knight, man. Travis Knight, talented dude. So maybe it might be good.
Maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, you probably dodged a bullet, Paul.
I know. I was like, I can't. You know what it was? Is like, in good conscience, I could never be like, this is a franchise that I shit on, and I've literally blocked it on my Twitter. I can't go in and be like, yeah, I would love to be involved in this universe. Cool. All right. Bumblebee. Yeah. Like I have like not much respect for myself, but I have a little bit of respect. I have to hold it there.
In fact, they could have been asking you to audition for them all along through Twitter. You just would never have known.
So the Decepticons hunt Jaeger to his junkyard hideout in South Dakota, where he and many of the surviving Transformers are holed up. During the chaos of the ensuing battle, Jaeger is approached by Cogman, the Transformer envoy of British Lord Sir Edmund Burton, who takes him and Bumblebee to England to meet his master. I literally don't remember this scene at all.
Cogman is great.
What is Cogman? What is Cogman?
Cogman is so good.
Cogman's C-3PO, and he calls it out. He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm C-3PO." I was like, "Yeah." That's how like dumb this script is. It's like, hey, let's just make him like we'll make a C-3PO, and then they're like, it's too C-3PO. Well, it's not if we just say he's like C-3PO. All right, yeah, let's do it.
He's C-3PO with a personality disorder, so it's also funny at times. Yeah,
he's C-3PO, but with Sherlock Holmes like Benedict Cumberbatch personality, right?
You guys,
I would say more like Patrick Bateman, American Psycho personality.
He
like runs across the room and tries to like choke him out. He chokes out Mark Wahlberg.
But you guys saying he's C-3PO is not an answer to the question of what the fuck is he? Like, is he a transformer? Is he some kind of crazy?
No, I think he's a robot butler.
But how?
But he is a transformer. He's a transformer robot butler who's been helping the Witwicken Order for hundreds of years.
But he doesn't transform into anything, though, right? Like,
I mean, he transforms into kicking your ass. I think that's really all he does.
In England, Cade Yeager also meets Vivian Wembley, an Oxford professor who Burton has had the Autobot Hot Rod kidnap.
Were you guys confused, like when the robot butler took Cade Yeager to the UK? I was like, did everyone go? I thought Gerard and the kid went, and then I guess they stayed behind. And then like
they're like, this giant plane can only fit one human.
Yeah,
and by the way, he's in like an old school like. It's like an old 1940s like bomber plane that must have taken days to get to the UK from the bottom. Like it was not a short flight. It was a terribly painful flight. And then you see like Mark Wahlberg in the window, like peeking out the window, like looking at the cliffs of Dover, like cool.
Yeah, and so no, those two main characters that we've now invested in and liked and have a relationship with as an audience, they now take over an hour break for the movie. We go do some other shit over here in England for some reason.
Well, that's the thing. They keep on setting up cool characters and then just going, bye, see you later, bye.
They just have too much money. It's too much like unlimited film time, I guess, too. Before we get too deep into England, though, I do want to we brought this up before. The Decepticon plan, nothing about that made sense, right? They knew where Cade Yeager was. And they sent the Decepticons to negotiate or to find just go there, Josh Duhamel, and like you worked with them and just like have a talk. But no, we'll send the worst robots. Like all the robots are illegal. We'll send
Megatron, who by the way has tried to exterminate humanity on multiple occasions at this point. Let's work with that guy. Let's work with that guy.
He's definitely going to give us the thing that everybody wants. Idiots.
Oh my god.
It feels like some of these, I can't get into the logic of how do these robots get, because sometimes I feel like these robots are taking a lot of hits and they get no damage, and then other times like one hit and they're like, oh, Canopy's dead. I'm like, wait, how? I don't understand the level of damage on these robots when they die. And
when Canopy dies, I like how Isabella says, like that was the only family I had. Meanwhile, the other robot is like sitting right next to her. Squeak is like, okay, I guess our relationship was what I thought it was. Anyway,
did we already pass by the sequence with Bumblebee like disassembling himself and reassembling himself?
We did pass that. Yeah,
that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
well, it was actually kind of cool the way he like took down that military force with his arm. I didn't know Transformers had that kind of functionality, which is
it's an upgrade.
It's like Iron Man functionality, like with the parts that can like pull themselves together. Yeah,
he's autonomous in various parts, but it was a cool sequence.
Yeah, that was the one cool sequence from the film, other than the Con Air
sequence.
Saying,
like that part of the movie up until like I even go until like they get. I enjoyed the stuff with Anthony Hopkins. Like, I was enjoying all of this. Like I was like, this is not bad. But I had a question about Bumblebee. Oh, when they go, oh, we got to get you your real voice, but we've never heard his real voice, right?
That's the thing. Yeah. He's never had.
So
his
when
real
he
voice.
Put in that thing, so like would he talk like I am also talking like that? Would he also have that kind of a voice? Like because it's like why would he rip out? Why would he? I would think to take the voice box that he had was a fine upgrade instead of talking in movie clips and music cues. Like I would have been like, well, I'll take this for now, and we'll continue the work on finding my voice box. Like, I'm not gonna just get rid of this wholesale because this actually allows me to communicate with my with a voice. Yeah, I'm actually
It's so
able
true.
to
He's
do
like,
something.
no, I don't want to sound like a chick. Fuck that.
Yeah, girls are lame. Like, oh boy,
But that's half his
Terrible.
character, right? Is just movie clips, right? And sound bites. So great.
By the way,
Before
I
we
was
go
hoping-
on
Yes.
too far, I also just want to throw a quick shout out to Glenn Morshower, Aaron Pierce from 24, who is still in the series
Oh yes,
after being killed off in the first movie
what?
as
I
a
didn't
general.
know.
Yeah, so that his character, Glenn Morshower's character, was killed off in the first film of Transformers. Reappears in this movie
It's a
with
different
no
character.
explanation. But
This
he's
character is General Morshower. They didn't even change his name.
yeah, his character's name is General Morshower, played by actor Glenn Morshower. So they just it's the same actor, same name, no explanation as to why he's here again.
That
That is
amazing. That is Transformers in a nutshell, right there. That is really all you need to know.
There's a lot
I
of
just wanted to
laziness.
be the last human
I will tell
standing.
you that my friend, I back when I first started doing like acting stuff, I did this commercial shoot with an actor, and he was shooting Bad Boys 2, and they were looking for extras that could drive like SUVs or Hummers or something like that and could do stunts. And this guy was like, yeah, I have a Hummer. I'll do the stunt. And he wasn't really a stunt driver. And it's that big bridge sequence, in the movie. And Michael Bay was like, I like you. You're in the rest of the movie. And then this guy went from being an extra who got like a casting call that was like, we need someone who can bring their own Hummer, to now being a main character. Like in the end, when they attack that guy's like house, like he's one of the 5 guys. So I think that's the way Michael Bay works. Like, I like you. The character's named you.
Yeah.
You're the character. Let's go.
Yeah,
That's totally how he works. He found Megan Fox, I believe, as an extra in like one of the party sequences in Bad Boys 2, and it's like, oh, you're going to be in the next movie for sure. And,
I don't want to plug my own thing at all, but I do want to direct you guys to the thing that I did do with Michael Bay because it's so dumb, and we got him to be fun. First of all, when I met Michael Bay, and I have nothing bad to say about the man because he was lovely, but I walked into his complex. He has a car with gull-wing doors, and someone was vacuuming his dog. That was the first 2 things
That sounds
I
right.
saw.
That sounds about right.
And then when I met him, he was wearing an American flag T-shirt, and we went in and we shot this bit, and the bit was my friend Rob and I are the preeminent like people of CG. We're the best CGI actors. So like Andy Serkis could create these amazing characters like the monkey and all these amazing things, but Rob and I created objects. So like we were like the gun in Transformers, and we had Michael Bay like give a testimonial to us being the gun, and we did this whole thing, and he was really great in it. I'll put the link on the
what's the name of the video, Paul? I can.
I'm gonna find it out. It's on Funny or Die.
Right.
I've forgotten the name, but
we'll link to it in the show notes. So all right, let's press on. We're about halfway through the plot of this movie, guys. So Yeager meets Vivian Wembley, an Oxford professor who Burton has had the Autobot Hot Rod kidnapped. Hot Rod is the guy who acts like Pepe Le Pew, by the way.
Yes.
Burton then explains he is the last living member of the Witwicken Order.
That sounds familiar.
An ancient brotherhood dedicated to guarding the secret history of Transformers on Earth. Vivian, Burton reveals, is the last descendant of Merlin and must find and use his staff to prevent the impending destruction of Earth by Cybertron.
So let's take a pause here.
Yeah, let's pause.
At some point in the sequence, we pan through like the other members of the Witwicken Order, including Sam Witwicky, the star of the first 3 Transformers movies, who's apparently dead now.
He was killed off screen, guys.
You think he's dead?
Something.
Why do you think he's dead? I think he just is like he was like, you know what? I can't do this order anymore. I got to get out of this.
I didn't get him being dead either.
Well, he says he's the last living member of the Witwicken Order.
Oh, that would make sense then.
Oh.
So he's the last living member, and Sam Witwicky was a member of the Witwicken Order.
He knows how to fight Transformers. If the Earth was on the line again, you'd figure you'd go the guy who has the experience too. But I thought that was just hilarious. Like,
also,
Shia was gone.
I did not see this, but apparently Stephen Hawking is in the Wiccan Order as well. And
everybody who's anybody.
They also helped out the Harry Tubman, right? Like Transformers helped establish the Underground Railroad, if I'm not mistaken. So
slavery was okay.
It was a railroad that transformed into a robot.
Apparently. So a lot of stuff we're finding out about Transformers.
There's so much
interference
going on
in
here.
human history.
And
Yep.
one thing about this new scientist too, like it's like a woman can't be in a Michael Bay movie without being totally sexed up to, right? She's super smart.
Oh, yeah.
She's an Oxford professor. She's like a genius on all these levels, but every scene they
But
have to
she's
dress
wearing
her
a
up.
dress that shows her
Exactly.
bra.
I
which
will
is a
say that there's something so interesting about this because I just saw Wonder Woman. I was a little bit late on that, just because I wanted to see it with my wife, and we were seeing it, and it's so funny because I think in that movie she is not sexualized at all. Like, she is beautiful, obviously, but she's not sexualized. In this movie, seeing them back to back, I was like, all this woman is sexualized. Like, it's crazy. Even like the first time that you see her, it's like they're making some joke about BBW or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like her dating or whatever it is. It's like, it doesn't even, it's like
This is
right
a
out.
movie-
Kay Yeager refers to her dress as a stripper dress, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Calls
was
it
like
stripper
so.
dress. Her mom is making fun of her for not being able to get a man. This is also a movie though where Mark Wahlberg apparently can't have sex with anybody or has had trouble having this is very weird. This is just like Michael Bay universe where these are normal looking people with typical problems, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I feel like they're like in the real world, right? Kate Yeager probably would be like, like, I'm making my things, and you know, and you know,
and he speaks
much
like
paler.
Borat apparently for some reason.
Yeah. My wife, my transformer, my transformer, and yeah, and like, but it's Mark Wahlberg who looks like he looks like the most, like, I guess, like, sexy, like whatever you would describe sexy as, like wind blown, like the dirt perfectly kind of placed in his face. By the way, I did read an article with Gerard that said that Michael Bay would come up to actors and put dirt on their face to make it look more realistic.
Nice.
I love that. I love Michael Bay. It's insane what's going on there.
He's like a kid in a candy store, but that's all of these movies, and this is what, the fifth one? Man.
Yeah.
You know what he is? He's not a kid in a candy store. I'm not saying this about his age. He's a kid who used to be a kid in a candy store, and now he's just a really fat adult who has diabetes. And it's like, more. Yeah. Like,
and all the money in the world. Like, he can buy whatever he wants, and anything can happen.
He's Charlie, who grew up in the chocolate factory, and now he's like
himself.
Yeah.
Fleeing the TRF, Yeager and Wembley follow clues left by the latter's father that lead them, Bumblebee, and Cogman to take the submarine HMS Alliance into the sea.
I have to say two more things here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because we got to say I think it's the first time ever Anthony Hopkins has ever said the word dude. Because he does say the word dude.
Doesn't he call everyone a fat ass as well? Like,
I know he
screams
says bitch in car.
He screams at everyone to get out of the submarine and does it in a very rude way, I remember. But anyway.
Yes, he does, yeah. But I like that Anthony Hopkins was like psyched. I'm sure Anthony Hopkins is psyched to say these lines because he's like the epitome of refined, refinement.
Sir Anthony Hopkins, yes.
Yeah. So great. Oh, and we didn't talk about the subtleties of this movie. Like when they do, when they go back in time, it's in black and white, just so you get it. It's like, right, that's not now.
Yeah,
also,
I wish they'd gone all the way with that, Paul. Like the, the scene when Bumblebee's taking out Nazis. I wish they'd shot that in like Super 8 or something.
Oh yeah, that would have been amazing. Oh, and also the other thing that we're established to that we didn't really get into as well is there. All right, so when we know there are Transformer prisons. And we also know there is a Transformer retirement home. Like, these are robots with dementia. Like, that one World War II tank has, like, dementia, right? That's the thing when they go meet him.
Right.
Like they're like, so Anthony Hopkins runs a Transformers retirement home.
What I love about that scene is the tank transforms and then like appears as a transformer for a second and then transforms back into the tank and then just stays as a tank for the entire rest of the scene. So like Anthony Hopkins like motions behind him. He's like, "Oh, you'll have to excuse him. He's like a little cranky today or whatever." And I just kept thinking to myself, like, they obviously just left it as a tank to save money. But it just is like if you didn't see the previous scene, he would sound like an insane person. Like he's just motioning back to this tank there, like, "Oh, you'll have to excuse him." Like it's just such a weird scene. The pacing is so weird in this movie. Jeff, you're gonna say something?
Well, we'd gotten up to the submarine section, and I thought, this is a movie that takes the time to show us that Cogswell, what's his name?
Cogsman. Yeah.
Cogman.
It takes the time to show him murdering fish on the submarine in order to give them a nice dinner. It takes the time to show him like beating a fish to death.
Just twirling him around too, like very casually.
Yeah. Well, I think one of my favorite tweets about this movie was sent by Christopher Campbell at the Film Cynic on Twitter. He says, "Of all the things I can criticize with Transformers the last night, I can't get over a character serving sashimi and calling it sushi."
Wait, oh my gosh! I'm looking at my notes here. There's a couple things that we jumped over that are the double entendre sex scene where they break back into the mansion, Mark Wahlberg and the sexy scientist, and then they go and the dotty old ladies are listening, and and she's like, "Shove it up your butt," and you go, "Oh, you're such a hoarder," and they raise their eyebrows like, "Ooh, a hoarder!" Like that's a sexual term. Like they were trying so hard to like shoehorn in sexual terms to a scene where they're not doing anything sexual at all.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry, Paul. I'm just like this. Wikipedia apparently just charges through some of the best parts of the film.
I can't
apparently.
believe we're skipping that scene.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene was. I mean, this is where like the classic comedy was. I mean, the whole like thing where they go chased. Like that great, like who's on first bit that Mark Wahlberg did, because it's like, oh, are you chased? They're like, oh, I'm being chased. No, chased, like virgin chased.
Well, there was legitimately amusing part when Cogman is playing the organ, and is playing the music and crescendoing at the right moment. I actually thought that was probably the one clever thing.
What movie is that from?
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Bay. Movie? It's pure Michael Bay from his veins.
I mean, I think that's one of the weaknesses of this film, though, is the other movies I thought were much more batshit insane than this film was. Like in terms of just like you just wouldn't know what you would see: robot testicles, robots peeing on people, racist stereotypes as like showing.
You're saying that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah. Have we gotten used to it? And now is our mind now just like, well, yeah, like. When you first see something, it's insane. It's like we've lived in the Midwest and we went to New York City. And we're like, oh my God, these buildings! But now we've lived there for 10 years. We're like, yeah, the buildings, whatever.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like, even if I didn't like those movies, I thought many of them were terrible. I admired the audacity of it, like that they're just putting this. You don't know what offensive thing you're going to see next. And this movie, I felt like, didn't even live up to that level of interestingness.
I don't know. I would say this movie constantly defied my expectations of how dumb it would go. So
fair enough.
I don't know.
That opera singing scene
was the opera scene.
That opera singing scene. That's out of a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
That's like Monty Python.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. It's so it. We think it's non-diegetic music, and then it's diegetic music, right? That is. The kind of comedic bit that is so far away from anything this series has ever done. It's just a weird place for the movie to just go for 2 minutes, and that's it. And it never returns there.
Doesn't it feel like this is like I guess my opinion about and maybe it's a larger point. Like all these movies are made for overseas, and I think China is like the big one that everyone's like, oh well, they make a ton of money in China. Like what China. But it's like, and I think that maybe what the only jokes that they can do that translate across, because comedy doesn't translate. Like comedy doesn't doesn't traditionally do well overseas. Like American comedies don't do well overseas. So I think the only jokes they can literally do are jokes like that, where it's like, I get that this is a joke. We are doing a joke. Like, and I think, and that's why like you're getting like base level jokes, like Wayne's Brothers style jokes in this thing. It's like that's like, you're right. That's a Mel Brooks scene. That is a full Mel Brooks scene.
Man, now I want to see a Mel Brooks Transformers movie because that sounds.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
I actually think there's something to that. I think if this series, if like Bay. Imagine an alternate universe where Bay had left after the first film, and different directors had taken on the Transformers. Like, I feel like it would be a much different series that would probably be much superior. Like, imagine if there was a comedy Transformers or there was a heist movie Transformers. Like, I think it would have gone a lot better. Instead, all of them feel very, very similar.
It would have been like Lord and Miller doing Transformers.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. maybe they're available now after last week.
But then maybe that's what Bumblebee will be, because it's like Bumblebee is going to be a very different tonally movie, at least from what I've seen or heard of, and it's like, and I feel like that's maybe the new thing. But I think the thing that makes me laugh about, not laugh, but the thing that kind of blows my mind is Michael Bay is so invested in these movies and so invested in this mythology. Like, you could tell, like, this is like his avatar. Like, I really do believe this. Like, I do believe that he's like, you see what I'm doing here? Stephen Hawking. But Stephen Hawking's not dead, but he's on the Witwicky wall, so maybe Sam Witwicky is alive. So
no. In this alternate universe, Stephen Hawking is dead, I think is the implication.
No. There's the Order, and then there's like the Witwicky line.
Oh,
which
okay.
is
Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
All right. But I feel like, but that's what I think is so kind of where there is a little bit of joy in these movies is like Michael Bay is like this mad scientist going, and World War II, and Merlin, and the pyramids, and the moon, and everything, and it's like, and then he just like, and he yells that all to a room full of talented writers and goes, write that, and then they have to cram it in, like, and put it all in one script, you know. And
there's a version of that is actually really cool, though. If you take the idea that Transformers are robots in disguise, right?
Yes.
And throughout history, there have been robots in disguise doing shit. That would be a really interesting idea. But there's no part of these movies where they're ever in disguise.
They're fighting. That's the whole thing. It's like an episode of G.I. Joe the cartoon show. It's just like they're always like in full battle. Like there's
most definitely.
There's never any downtime on these.
And
robots.
Decepticon, like what's his face? Like Megatron will always run away too. Like it is purely the TV show.
Yeah.
And you know, also I have to feel like, just again to do another checkbox here.
Yep, please.
With this thing, it's like Fast and Furious checked off because to get to the submarine, they just do a full on. And you were saying that you didn't like the car chase in this, but they did at least attempt a solid car chase in the middle of this movie.
I dig it. And those low camera angles, like that is pure Michael Bay. Just like let's get the camera like physically on the road chasing after this car.
There's a cool moment where Mark Wahlberg like leans out against nothing, just the road, because the thing is like transforming around him. That was kind of neat.
Kind of cool.
Shot.
Yeah. But there are cool things, and I think actually the technology has gotten better in each of these movies to make the fighting more interesting. I feel like a lot of the times in the beginning of CGI, especially in movies like this, you can't even pay attention about what's actually happening on screen. I know I felt like that, like at the end of the third one when they're fighting in that downtown. I'm like, why don't even, there's nothing for me to even connect with on these movies at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like now they, like when they're done in these like little short sequences, I don't know, I found myself enjoying some of the robot action in this more than I did in any of the other movies until the last half hour when it became that big cacophony of everything again.
Yeah. So Bumblebee, Cogman, and Yeager and Wembley take the submarine HMS Alliance into the sea to find the Cybertronian Knight's sunken ship, in which they discover the tomb of Merlin and the staff. Wembley.
Hold on, we got to just stop and go that Mark Wahlberg also in this movie inexplicably wears an HMS wife beater shirt. Like there's like these undershirts that are branded by the submarine, which is a museum piece at this point. Because they basically took a museum piece off of its moorings, which I guess is a transformer, and now they're swimming with it. But he like is going through, like it is as if he went through like the crew's like drawers and found a shirt. Yet this is a decommissioned museum piece.
There's a gift shop. It's clearly a gift shop.
I wish it was like I went to the HMS, what am I going to call it, and all I got was this stinking shirt.
Oh man, like that, you know? Yes. And that's the only way they could have gotten there. Like we have other technology now. What I love about the tomb scene is that Mark Wahlberg they open the tomb, he sees the staff, and he's like, what the fuck is this? And throws it away because that's the key plot point. He's not like, maybe there's like a secret to this because you're the only person who can hold it, lady. And he just throws it away. And like eventually she picks it up later, like after all the conflict of that scene.
There are two things also. First of all, I just want to go around and see what you guys thought. Did you think when he opened that tomb that Merlin would be alive? I did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, he'll be alive in there.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Where's old Stanley Tucci? He's only got like 5 minutes of movie here. I wanted more Tucci.
Yeah.
I wanted
I
to, like,
thought he was
piss
going to
off
like
Gucci.
pop up
I
out
was-
of the thing. I feel like this movie would be fine. And then the minute they open up that thing, Mark Wahlberg's like this ugly great granddad. Like he insults the corpse of Merlin, who is doing nothing but just being a corpse. Like that's it. Like let the corpse be a corpse. Like
Yeah.
save your insults,
It's like
bro.
a beautiful human being like, man, is this going to happen to me someday?
Yeah. He's like, I didn't come here for nothing. He throws that stab. He's like, I didn't come here for nothing. It's like, when did you become like this petulant child? Like he's like mad. Like I was like, all right, give him some Cheerios.
Yeah.
Let him calm down over here.
Don't investigate the staff, by the way. The whole reason you're there is to grab the thing that Merlin's
They're
holding.
more than
Let's-
meets the eye. That's in their name.
God,
More
dude.
than meets the eye.
Wembley activates the staff, and the ship rises to the surface. The
Because
TRF
the staff does what exactly?
not
energy.
sure.
Energy. It has the power of magic.
By the way, this is
Yeah.
I wrote here, I go, I zoned out for a second and I'm completely lost. Like, I was watching this movie and I was like, what's happening? I felt like 40 minutes had passed when I had just when I just started thinking about the time wasted in this theater.
I think that's a totally legitimate point. Actually, this is when it really started. I really started to feel it acutely. Is that
Yes.
there are no Michael Bay no longer directs scenes. He directs moments, and what I mean by that is there's no. And here's another separate point: is that there's no transition between things.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
for instance, in this scene, the whole thing, like the whole ship, fills up with water, right?
Yeah.
And Mark Wahlberg and Wembley, Kate Yeager and Wembley, they need to like climb this massive ladder to get up above the ship so they don't drown. In any other movie, that would have been like a massive set piece. By the way, Rob Cohen made an entire movie off just that idea. It was
Yes.
called Daylight.
It's so good.
But
I love it. Yeah.
but in any other movie, that would be like if J.J. Abrams was directing this movie, that would have been like a whole 5 to 10 minute set piece of them just trying to get out of this this drowning
Right.
ship. Literally 5 seconds in this movie.
Yeah, you're right about that, Dave. Like, there's a flashback to like World War II, right? Like, oh, the Transformers were helping fight the Nazis, right? 30 seconds, a whole new set, tons of explosions for like maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah,
of
maybe
footage.
30 seconds,
Yeah.
and then smash cut back to what we were already doing before. It's just there's no transitions, right? It's this thing happens, they're here. It's just no transitions. And I felt it very acutely when they're getting out of the ship, and all of a sudden now Mark Wahlberg is taking his sword out. And,
Yeah. A giant sword, right?
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
giant.
Yeah. So anyway, the TRF arrives to confront the group. Several knights awaken and attack them. The attack is cut short by the arrival of mind-controlled Optimus, who, by the way, was not in the movie until this point, other than that opening
Right.
scene.
That's the most insane part. We're like 2 hours into this movie.
But
Yeah.
but Jeff, who goes to a Transformers movie to see Optimus Prime? Like,
the
I mean,
funniest
really.
thing was, do you remember how much we criticized? What was it? Extinction? What is it called? The last one.
Transformers: The
Last
Age of
one?
Extinction.
Age of
Yeah.
Extinction. Okay. Remember how much we criticized that because all of the marketing materials was Optimus Prime on the back of a dinosaur.
Mhm.
And the dinosaur shows up literally in the last 10 minutes of this 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Right? And all the marketing materials are like, Optimus is on a dinosaur. And it's like, no, 3 hours later, Optimus is on a dinosaur. They do the same thing, but they just take Optimus out. It's just the only
crazy.
character that you can name or give a shit about other than Bumblebee is not in this movie until 2 hours into it. And then he just shows up out of nowhere into this submarine. Like, how did he get to
That's
the
what I'm
submarine?
He,
saying.
he was on.
It's
So
so
he was
confusing.
on Megatron. He was on the planet, right? And they were hurtling toward Earth at,
This is
I
where I'm
guess,
totally
speeds that
lost,
don't
yeah.
make sense. Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
somehow got off
Got off
Cybertron,
Yeah,
and
got
then
off Cybertron.
flew to Earth under the water and showed up there, I guess.
And
just
when
in time.
they're about to die, I don't know why I wrote this down, but maybe you guys will remember. I wrote there's a quote. You were by far the coolest. Is that when they were about to die? That like Wahlberg said that to the scientist?
No, I think that's so what happens is I think here the attack is cut short by the arrival of mind-controlled Optimus, now dubbed Nemesis Prime. But fortunately, when the normally mute Bumblebee is finally able to speak, the sound of his voice is enough to break Prime free of Quintess's control.
I have
And so
to say that's a great moment.
Yeah.
it's a pretty
Yeah.
cool moment, except so does Bumblebee just like grow a voice thingy.
Is that
It's
stunt
the
casting?
power of love, Dave.
Do we know who played his voice? Is it stunt casting in any way?
Uh,
Was that you, Paul? Were you the voice?
That was me. I was in there. You were by far the coolest.
So I think
Cool, man.
that's what Bumblebee says, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that would okay. That's what he said. Okay,
Yeah, I think
right.
Bumblebee says you're by far the coolest. A moment
There's sort of a macro question that we've ignored up to this point, also, which is this Quintessa has been on this planet, just presumably fucking around, not doing anything.
Just waiting.
Yeah. The staff has been there for 5 movies worth, more than 5 movies worth, since the jolly old England Merlin times, right?
Yeah, been there forever.
hundreds of,
We had
over a millennium. Over a
4
millennium.
movies of stuff happening on Earth. But yet this is the biggest weapon, I guess. No one. She just decided now is the right
Well,
day.
she needed Optimus, obviously, to help out with that. You know, like she needed to wait till Optimus
she
went
has
back.
been sitting there
It
going,
doesn't make sense.
man, I hope Optimus gets curious about who his creator is.
Yeah. Anyway, so Prime is broken free of Quintessa's control. A moment later, Megatron arrives to steal the staff. He, too, has been working for Quintessa all along.
Who could have thought?
As Megatron flees with his prize, the Knights attack Optimus for his betrayal, but Jaeger, whose talisman becomes the Excalibur sword, stops the fight, realizing
I feel like this whole movie is written by this is how they're in that room and they're like, all right, so I guess Optimus comes back, all right, and then what happens? And then someone in the back half-heartedly is like, I don't know. Then you find out Megatron's working for her too. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Sure,
I feel like the whole plot's written like that. Like, yeah, I guess that could work. Yeah, does that work? Yeah. It's first idea and it's not even a passionate idea. Yeah, then Bumblebee talks and then he's like, cool. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I think that works.
It's definitely very first
so,
draft.
Paul,
Definitely
you're
first
imagining them being in a room. I'm imagining a hot tub, and they're just surrounded by cocktails. And somebody's just
I'm
writing
imagining-
down all the ideas they're throwing out
I'm
there.
imagining Michael Bay in the hot tub, a bunch of writers in a room, him calling from the hot tub, going, what do you got for me? And then they go, oh, this cool idea about this. Like, no, more Game of Thrones. Click. And then it goes back to having sex with a bunch of women.
More Game of Thrones. I've been watching it. It's hot. It's really hot.
So anyway, Jaeger, whose talisman becomes the Excalibur sword, stops the fight, realizing he is the last knight. The knights yield to Jaeger, who urges Optimus to protect Earth once more. We're almost at the end, guys.
So he's the last knight because the talisman chose him?
Yeah, I guess.
And
I mean,
the talisman chose him because he was near it?
he was near
his
the
crotch.
ship. He was
His
near
crotch was a good fit for the next night. So, yeah.
God.
And
And by the way, and the other thing I want to talk about too, that little girl comes back, his daughter by proxy in this big final fight scene.
Right, who he refers to as J-Lo because she's Hispanic. But yes, continue.
Yeah, which is totally great. And this is really really classy way to do that. And so all right, her robot, her Bumblebee is a Vespa robot, right? It's like a little Vespa that can't transform into a Vespa. That's like his Achilles heel, I guess.
Yes.
And she looks at him and says this line, "You are small and ugly. No one will see you coming." And I'm like, this is your thing. This is like your pet. That's your pep talk.
That's her
Keep your
motivational
pet.
line. Yeah.
To be fair, that's
ugly.
what my best friend pumped me up with when I was about to go speed dating. So,
Small and ugly, no one will see you coming.
That's
it's not
right.
like, what if it's like you're small and you're smart and you'll get them by surprise? Like, you're small and ugly. I don't know. I just thought that was sent a really bad message. It's
Yeah.
that's I don't know. I really left a bad taste in my mouth.
yeah.
To your point about it being a mashup of everything that's hot right now, in the chat, Corey Gross points out that this is Ray and BB-8. That's what that element
Yeah.
of
Oh, you're
plot is.
totally right. Yeah. Good job, Corey.
Megatron delivers the staff to Quintessa, who begins draining the life force of Earth/Unicron via Stonehenge.
Oh my God.
That was a series of words I
course.
just said. Yep.
Because that's a British thing. Where's the British? Give me a British thing. Is it old? Let's put it in the movie.
Stonehenge. No one ever knew. Transformers. Nailed it. Anyway, lunch. Where are we going?
When the military intervenes,
Chipotle, everybody? Okay, yeah.
Megatron shoots Burton, who dies with Cogman at his side. Using a ship procured by the Autobot day trader. Apparently, there's an Autobot.
No,
named
that's
Day
where the
Trader.
line "You're the coolest" is.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right. You're totally right, because that's. I'm glad you said that, because
Sorry, yeah.
that's why I wrote it down, because that's why it was so weird. Yeah,
He
you
says,
were always the coolest.
of all the Wiki clan, I served them all, and you. And then it like cuts to this Grand Vista shot, and he goes, "You were the coolest."
Such a weird.
By the way, he didn't serve them all because he wasn't in those first 3 movies with
Sam Witwicky, yeah.
He's
Sam-
like the illegitimate Witwicky, I guess,
Yeah.
even though his name is actually Witwicky. Also, I guess his parents died too.
Yeah,
Like,
Sam's
his entire
parents-
family
Sam's
has just been
parents are
wiped
dead.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the military intervenes, Megatron shoots Burton. Oh, I already said that. Using a ship procured by the Autobot day trader, the Autobots arrive to join the fight, landing on Cybertron and battling against the Decepticons and Quintessa's Infernocons. I didn't even know that was the name. Optimus and his Autobots, backed by the Knights in their dragon form,
Can I just say,
vanquish.
when you're describing this plot, it feels to me like I'm trying to climb up an ice mountain. I'm like, I can't find any solid ground. Like, you're saying words, I'm hearing it. I'm like, Autobot day trader? What? I don't even know what that is.
Infernocons.
how I felt
I
while
didn't even know that
watching it.
those were a thing. There's an
that's the
amazing
thing that-
scene.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's an amazing scene right around this time in the plot where Isabella shows up and with Squeak, and Mark Wahlberg says, "You guys are here. You got my message." Guys, he never sent a message in this movie. That never happened. Anyway,
Oh my
sorry,
God.
Jeff. Go ahead.
Well, he does call his daughter a couple of times for some reason.
Who's not calling him back?
Yeah. This really pissed me off because and I know I've brought this up several times now, but I thought I had a real handle on what that fucking staff did, and I thought it was involving bringing the cool dragon, the 3-headed dragon, around. But then when we see Optimus just show up with the dragon without the staff, I was so pissed off because I was like, what did the staff do back in medieval times other than bring the dragon out?
That's the staff was just
Oh
like
my
super
God.
powerful magical stuff. The dragon was all the knights united together, like transformed together, Voltron style, to create the dragon.
Yeah,
Why
which is
do
what Mark
why-
Wahlberg did because he's the Last Knight. Remember that? I
Why
said
did
that earlier.
Nolan need to get the staff if the dragon was good? The dragon wins the fight. The staff does nothing.
The staff is the key to draining the energy from Earth
Yeah.
and putting it into Cybertron.
Yeah.
That's
The whole
so
point
it's
of the
actually
beginning 10 minutes,
pretty waste.
beginning 10 minutes is Tucci has to go and use his power of drunken persuasion to get the staff. That's what he does. And then he returns and he's on the horse and there's cool lighting behind him and he holds the staff up and then the dragon comes and wins the fight for everybody. But if the dragon just could have fucking won the fight for him without getting the staff, what did Merlin do? He didn't do shit.
Well, I think,
no-
maybe the staff was incidental, and
Although
the Transformer
they had,
gave
to,
him.
they had to pick up the staff to wake up the those other knights, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Maybe the
That's
staff
the
was
thing.
completely incidental, and it's just like, hey, by the way, Stanley Tucci, I also have this staff. You better hold
By the
on
way,
to
we
this
should-
because
By
otherwise,
the way, we let the audience know Stanley Tucci is not in this movie. He was in the last movie. Because I just looked on Wikipedia. There's just a guy who looks like Stanley Tucci in this movie.
No,
No, that's gotta be
that's
him.
Stanley
That's
Tucci.
him.
That's Stanley Tucci. Man.
No.
Yep.
Yes.
Wait, so he's
Look, he's
Merlin
in the
and the
credits.
guy.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Michael Bay, Glenn Morshowered Stanley Tucci in this film.
Wait a second. Now, hold on a second. This is blowing my mind. That was
Wait a
Stanley Tucci?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And a beard. So
Wow.
wait a minute. Not only does Merlin
Fuck,
have
how did I
to
not get that?
Tucci
I
Merlin?
thought it was like a guy who just looked like Stanley Tucci. It's like, of course it's not him. Wow.
So
Okay.
Tucci Merlin gets the staff, but it's so important that whoever he gets it from, which by the way is conveniently framed out in that entire sequence, so we don't know.
I
Which
think.
we assume will be a reveal at some point, but never is.
Yep.
But it's so important that Tucci Merlin gets the staff that they can print his DNA on it. so that only his descendant can use it, but he doesn't use it?
Guys, I'm still freaked out that Stanley Tucci has deadwooded these franchises where he's played two different characters
He is making bank from these movies. Like, oh, you killed me before? Don't worry. I'm good. Let's just keep going.
Back. Joshua Joyce is dead. Long live Merlin. I can't wait to see who he comes back in as the next one. Wow.
I like using Morshower as a verb.
Yes.
Yes. Come on, Paul. I mean, like, if you were given the opportunity to be in a sequel, right? But after you'd already died, you know?
By the way, it's funny that you say that because in that movie I did, Piranha.
Yeah, Piranha. I was going to say Piranha. Didn't that happen?
Killed. Yeah, it was killed, and then they ran out of money to do the CGI, and then they brought me back for the sequel. Like, my character does disappear and is dead. But it's like, oh no, he lived, and I was fine.
Because basically to clear it up, right? They shot your death scene for Piranha, the Alex Aja one,
first one,
but then they ran out of money to actually show the death scene, right?
To complete the CGI, So Greg Nicotero did this amazing nose on me that was like fully ripped off my face. It looked awesome, but I guess I had a rubber fish in my hand and I put it up to my nose. It was already just totally destroyed, and so like there had to be a couple little things that were put together,
right?
And they never.
So they didn't do it. So then you theoretically survived Piranha 1.
Yeah, this has got to be the first time in cinema history that running out of money got an actor more work.
Yeah, exactly.
So they Paul Sheared Stanley Tucci in this movie. They brought him back.
No, but he didn't come back as the same character. I came back this is what I'm saying. He deadwooded because what's that guy who came back as two different characters? Yeah. That's more impressive.
Glenn Morshower too in this movie. So, all right. So anyway, also here, Jeff, Quintessa really needs the staff to deplete Earth of its resources. So
it's the key. You keep explaining.
I believe we're still talking about this.
You keep explaining why instead of what.
So Optimus and his Autobots, backed by the knights in their dragon form, vanquish their many foes. Optimus defeats Megatron while Bumblebee appears to slay Quintessa. Wembley removes the staff, stopping Cybertron's destruction of Earth, but leaving the two planets connected. Optimus declares that humans and Transformers must work together to rebuild their worlds, and sends a message calling any surviving Autobots to come home. Earth, by the way, is completely fucked at this point.
We're fucked.
This whole
our tidal forces. Our tidal forces are like irrevocably destroyed, and they like destroyed the moon too, right? To create this thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, didn't one Transformer say "fuck you"? I thought that was like one. The little one was like "fuck you."
That was actually Michael Bay to the audience. Just like you thought this was going to make sense, but no.
Well, and if you even could follow what just happened. We got to talk about the post-credit scene. Are we at the post-credit scene?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, well, anything before post-credits do we want to talk about?
No, because I don't even understand really what I saw in that section.
I do think we should reiterate that the world is fucked. Like, several major, like the pyramids were destroyed.
Well, what I love about this movie, actually, in the one nod to continuity, is when you see the Cybertron, like, destroy other aspects. Like, for instance, Cybertron destroys the moon, and you see the ship that landed on the moon in Dark of the Moon. So that was pretty cool. And then it destroys the pyramids, and you see the pyramids like were heavily damaged from Revenge of the Fallen.
Yes.
So I thought that was like a little clever Easter egg for those who actually paid attention during the first 4 films.
I just hope the next movie is all about global climate change because everything is fucked now. Like everything, the way the world works, has been destroyed.
Well, Michael Bay strikes me as a really progressive guy, so I'm sure that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We have not discussed Paul's Veep co-star Tony Hale yet.
Oh yes,
in a role that is just there to be science guy, I guess. And
it's
that entire sequence where there's like science guy is just frustrated that nobody's listening to his science, and the military decides that it's like, oh, we don't listen to fantasy, and the movie like doesn't really take a side on science versus fantasy and what's real and what's not.
Oh no, it's very much like
very
science
much on the side of
fucked.
Science is
like
bad.
His plan to knock over whatever tower that was failed, to stop the whole energy transfer, and he looked defeated.
Yeah.
And then the magic is what saved everything at the end.
Yeah, they needed to trust the transforming robots who were able to take away the magic spear.
It wasn't just robots. It was beautiful scientist lady who we had to
Who's
trust.
related to Merlin. Yeah,
right. Who decides to selflessly run back when she could have easily escaped the plummeting thing that would have destroyed the entire planet. Obviously. But she, takes the selfless road and runs back toward it, and gets in there. And actually, all that zero G stuff that was happening in the middle there with pulling the staff out, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that. Look, that end.
I don't know about that. There was this moment when Mark Wahlberg flings the female scientist character towards
that's
staff.
how it works, Dave. Don't
everyone
worry.
in the audience broke out in laughter because of how terrible it looked. Like it just looked awful.
By the way, we haven't even not that we have to go and talk about it, we haven't even talked about John Turturro's little mini episode in the middle of this movie. There's so many things that happen.
He had Michael Bay send him on vacation, and he was like, "Send one camera guy. And I'm just going to do a couple scenes. Give me a day. I'll do them all."
I just wanted him to be his character from The Night Of, to be trying Megatron at the end.
He's looking for an eczema cure in Cuba. Really, is what's happening.
Not enough shots of his feet. Not enough.
So, post credits, guys. I know this is what we've all been waiting for. In a mid credit scene, scientists inspect one of the horns of Unicron, which is extending out of the desert. Quintessa, who has survived and is disguised as a human.
Wait a second, though. Can I just talk about this in a way that said, when I was growing up, Transformers was not my thing. I was a He-Man guy. So I don't have that backstory of Transformers. I did not know that Quintessa could turn into a human. So when I watched this sequence, I was like, is this a brand new character? Did you know it right away that that's Quintessa?
No, I didn't know it.
It sort of sounds like her, but it's a different actress too, I think.
I didn't know it until just right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Jeff, why would they have shown you that thing? You got to set up the next movie.
No, I get that. I get the Unicron thing.
Time.
I did not get that was Barefoot Quintessa.
Barefoot Quintessa. Yeah, so she dies, but we all know that death in the Transformers universe is completely meaningless.
Most definitely.
Anyway, she survives. She's disguised as a human, arrives and offers them a way to destroy Unicron. So, guys,
right.
I don't know. I know this is going to blow your mind, but Earth is at stake again in the next Transformers movie.
Oh, my God.
I just want one movie. One simple Transformers movie. They're just running around, just having fun.
Just having a good old time.
Transformers Day Off, yeah.
Brad Oman at /film.com did a great job at running down what exactly was going on in the last night's credits. So I'm going to link to that in the show notes. I don't think it requires any more time on our part. But he does a pretty good job of explaining what the fuck is actually happening there. So
I will say it. I've said it before, and I will say it again. I've seen this movie now, and I can literally say the best Transformers is Transformers the Ride at Universal Studios. I love that ride. It is all that I want of Transformers. I can follow the plot. It's fun and it's great. And I honestly think Michael Bay directed that ride too. That is the pinnacle. Nothing has gotten better than
How long is it, Paul?
Probably 4 minutes max.
Oh man, that sounds good.
That sounds amazing.
That's my kind of Transformers.
Have you guys been on that ride? Have you been on it?
No.
Yeah.
It's legit I think it's the best. It's it is a ride that I've gone on numerous times because I live out here and you can go there a bunch. It's because I'm an adult and I can do whatever I want. But it's a fun ride. You feel like you get it. You get it. There's fights. There's rolling around. There's Bumblebee. You're getting sprayed with water. It's the best version of it. I would ride that a million times. And so I hold nothing against Michael Bay. He created that great ride.
Wow.
If these 5 movies got it.
I think it's very appropriate that our review of Transformers last night ends with an ode to the ride.
Ode to the ride.
Yeah.
The 5 minutes, sweet, short ride. I will say, as much as we crap on these movies, I still enjoy the first one. I think the first one is a lot of fun because it's a focused movie about characters. The problem was after the second one, Jeff No, this is a whole other fight. After the second one, though, which was during the writer's strike, so they had no script for Revenge of the Fallen, and that movie is just like a goddamn mess. That movie is like special effects, just like one after another. I think they realized you don't need to actually pay any attention to the script. Like, people will still watch. That movie did really well, apparently, too.
But I think, by the way, to me, I feel like Transformers is the beginning of this mentality of it's not made for us, it's made for international. Like, and it was, I think that was one of the first movies where it's like, we shot a whole sequence in China. Like, and it's like, and, you know, and it's like, oh, and that was the beginning of me understanding, like, oh, now instead of these movies just being successful overseas, we're catering to them. And, and so much so that we don't even have to have a plot. We just need to have, like what you said, moments. It's like, it looks cool. Cause, you know, cause it really is. I think that's like, it's so bizarre that we have this movie that we all felt the same way. There's a moment in this movie where maybe 30 seconds passed and we all got confused because there's no logical storytelling to get us to that next moment. That's crazy.
But you know what, guys? Like, at the end of my screening, my audience started clapping. And not like ironically, not like, oh my God, thank goodness we're out of here. They clapped. They were whooping. They cheered for Optimus when he came, like when he became good and started kicking ass.
Like,
no, I saw it in a normal like matinee screening.
I will tell you, there's a legitimately cool moment when Optimus, as the big rig, comes out of that cloud of smoke at the end.
Yes, yeah, that was great.
Despite everything I'd been through, I was like, fuck, it's still cool that Optimus Prime's a big rig and he drove out. It's like there's certain iconography that still kind of works, and but you know, this movie's not doing well.
This is how I describe how many times can you fool the American people? Like, that's why. Like, at a certain point, we're like, all right, we'll take you. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me a third time, I don't know. Fool me a fourth time, now I feel stupid. But a fifth time, we really get. But
you can't get fooled again. You can't get fooled again.
This is the only way I describe. This is how I describe this movie. It's like being at a buffet, and you're blindfolded, and you're just and you're pulling one thing onto your plate, and you don't know what you have, and you have a plate full of stuff, and some stuff you eat, and you're like, well, that was delicious. I want more of that. Too bad, because the next thing you eat is terrible. And the next thing you eat is like passable, and the next thing is terrible, and then there's a great thing again. You're just eating, you don't know what you're eating. It's coming in weird orders, because I do agree that throughout this movie, there are fun, cool, exciting things. There are things that make me go, I love Michael Bay as a director. There are things that I love as the actors, like, again, like Mark Wahlberg and the whole, you know, being like kind of shot down for being a virgin was really fun. At least to me, it felt like it was fun. But it just, there's no like full point of view. It's like, I feel that way with James Cameron sometimes too. It's like the visual supersedes the plot. And sometimes you have to have a plot. You have to have characters. These things are important, I think.
Themes, characters, it's all good things. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah. But yeah, as Jeff pointed out, this movie is not doing super well. It made $69 million from Wednesday to Sunday, and that's $45 million over the Friday to Sunday time period, which is significantly worse than pretty much all the other Transformers movies. So it's also, that being said, it is opened incredibly strong. Not in North America. So it did very well in China. By the way, did you guys notice that there is a scene in this movie where they are taking shelter from the robots that are attacking at this deserted town outside of Chicago or whatever, and Isabella just pulls out a Chinese drink out of her bag and starts drinking. It's like a Chinese drink. They were much more heavy on the Chinese product placement in Age of Extinction, but they still managed to sneak in that Chinese drink in this one, which there's absolutely no reason she would have that in this movie. But anyway,
maybe she's just a worldly child.
Yeah, she's done a lot of traveling. Paul, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, someone brought this up on the boards, but how is Steven Spielberg involved in this? Because his name is in the credits, and I wrote that down too. I was like, is he giving notes, or is he just kind of like?
That's a good question.
Sort of like, you know, because it does not have anything that would. I feel like I think the only thing that Steven Spielberg contributed to this movie was he's like, you should check out this Shia LaBeouf kid, and then he started to hate Shia, and then Michael Bay and him never spoke again. Like, you know,
Oh man,
I think that's
feel
entirely
like
possible.
one of the reasons I like the first movie is it has those Spielberg touches, right? It's Shia as a kid in high school, and like this weird stuff starts happening.
Yeah, it's a
Before-
boy and his alien. You know, it's like the same
robot.
dynamic that
Yeah.
a boy and his robot. Like it's the same dynamic in like E.T. or other movies like that. And there's like a lot of beautiful moments in Transformers 1 that I just feel like are totally rushed past in all the subsequent films. In favor of all this other crap that no one asked for. So it's kind of a bummer that these movies aren't better. By the way, Brian Davids in the chat asked earlier about what the score was like. You know, the score for the first film is actually still really impressive in my opinion. And the score for Last Night, just kind of a shell of its former self, kind of just reusing themes of the first one without adding anything interesting.
And I feel like that's what you're going to get though in a 5-film franchise. Sometimes it's sort of like, yeah, well, we already got our thing. It's like, you know, it doesn't stick out. But the main themes, I do like the main themes.
Yeah, they're still good. You know, there are some movies that buck that trend, though. For instance, John Williams' score for like Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, and you know, like those. He introduced some like new stuff in those movies that was like really impressive. That
Phantom
like,
Menace, that score of Phantom Menace.
Yeah, Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates is
yeah.
the best song in all of Star Wars.
Amazing, amazing. So you know, it's possible to keep like reinventing yourself from a score perspective, but you know they didn't do that in this movie. All right, so we've gone long, but of course we would because it's Transformers. But Paul, we're so grateful for your time. Any closing thoughts you want to share with us about Transformers Last Night?
I think I'm just going to go back to my buffet metaphor and just go like, these are buffet movies, and you have to be ready to not know what you're going to get. Is the crab going to be rotten? We don't know. Is the shrimp, you know, like you may get a good
picture a
shrimp
buffet,
there.
but it's force fed to you. You know, that's kind of what it is. Yeah.
It's a buffet where, you don't know what you're putting on your plate. You just have to eat whatever. You have to eat a little bit of everything. You're going to eat maybe a mouthful of Jell-O, and it's not going to be as bad as you think, but it's not good. But
the thing that's so amazing to me is that 5 movies now. I've seen all of them, and I'm still surprised that it could be this incoherent and it's slipshod and haphazard. It's like I don't understand why I am still surprised. I walked out of that movie and went, I cannot believe how batshit that movie was, and why am I still surprised at that? Why am I still surprised that they can't hold together?
You think that that someone's going to go, guys, whoa, what do we do in that last one? We got to clean up our act a second time. Like, when I would beg, I would just like beg. I'd say Michael Bay, I'd beg, make another one of these, but it cannot go a second over 90 minutes. Take that challenge. And I honestly believe that if you created this story in 90 minutes, like you'd have to cut stuff out, obviously, you would have a better movie. I think this idea of the bloating of film, especially popcorn movies, is bad for popcorn movies. Like, I love summer films. I almost go see every summer movie out there, but I do think that this idea that you can go long, it's like in comedy too. It's like sometimes the best thing you can do is have parameters. Like Black Mirror, now that's on Netflix, I think it did lose something when they were able to go longer. I think the ones that were better were the shorter ones, the ones that felt like you have to stay within constraints. I think it makes for a better product. But when you can go, I can make a 2.5-hour movie. Who is that for? Because it's a kid's movie, and no kid wants to see 2.5 hours of this thing, no matter how good it is.
Basically, you want to remake the 5 Obstructions, but with Transformers instead.
I would love to see that.
But me too. It would be amazing. I think there are so many unnecessary subplots in this film. You know, Tony Hale, that character didn't need to be there at all. Nope. Like, we didn't need even the Isabella character. Like, you could have just cut that character completely out of the movie. And
dude, Anthony Hopkins doesn't need to be in this movie. That character doesn't need to be in the movie at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's all these subplots.
John Turturro certainly didn't even need to be in that movie.
Why
invest John Turturro to be like, oh, you got to go to this one place? Wow. John Turturro literally is a phone call in this movie, but like a 5-minute phone call just to say like, go over that place. All right.
These movies are an exercise in not saying no, right? It's an exercise in like, yes, let's just include everything. There's no discipline there, and it's very unfortunate. But it sounds like we at least had a good time during this conversation.
Yes.
And
well, these are the movies that I find to be the most fun to talk about because it's not just like it's not badly made. It's like the choices are insane. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like why who let this happen? Like there's so many people like, and then you see like small films not being able to get made or I don't know, like it basically like this reeks of from the studio that brought you monster trucks, like Transformers. It's like it's the same shit in a different bag. It's like yeah. People love crazy stuff. The trucks are monsters. And then the trucks are robots. It's like, yeah, like it's like someone signing a check.
Tell me more about the trucks.
Yeah.
I did like what do you call it? So Movie Bob, who's an online movie reviewer who makes videos, he made this video that I think it was like 20 things that actually happened in Transformers 5, and the whole review is basically just him saying things that happened. One thing that he pointed out that I thought was funny for some reason, just as we're winding down and bringing up random things, was Megatron. At one point, he sees Starscream's head, I think, right? And he says, "My treacherous friend Starscream." Starscream, by the way, has been nothing but loyal during the entire movie series. I just thought, what? Why would they? It doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense, guys.
I don't think anyone who's written these movies has seen the other ones because them like us are like, they're like, okay, like, all right, so you're writing Transformers 5. Cracks the knuckles, puts on the TV. They fall asleep 20 minutes and like, I don't need to watch it. I got it.
There's no show Bible for the Transformers movies.
Yeah,
I don't think they can. How can you?
It's entirely possible that I just lost it. Merlin, who played Merlin?
Stanley Tucci?
Yeah, it's entirely possible that Stanley Tucci is the only one involved that knew that he had been in the other movies.
Yeah, like Michael Bay's like, we gotta get Stanley Tucci in this. Like, Michael, we gotta get me Stanley Tucci. He's in the Hunger Games. He's gonna be in this one too. We'll get them all.
It's like, do they know that? You know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything.
Double the royalties, baby.
That's amazing.
Oh, incredible! All right, well, Paul, we're so grateful that you joined us today here on the Slash Filmcast. So grateful that you helped us raise almost $7,000.
Oh my gosh!
It's actually as of this, like right now, this moment, we are at $7,000 for Children's Hospital. So people contributed during the podcast. And again, if you want to if you enjoyed any of the last hour and 45 minutes of podcasting, go to GoFundMe.com/Formers. We'd appreciate it if you contribute. But Paul Scheer, where can people find more of your work on the internet or elsewhere this week?
Oh, it's just so simple. You could just find Paul Scheer anywhere. It's like it's all that on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff.
That's all over the internet, like the talisman's all over Mark Wahlberg's junk in this movie.
Yeah, 100%. That's the way I describe it all the time. And you can listen to my podcast, which every week we talk about a movie like this. Unlike your podcast, which you dissect great films and you have opinions. We watch the best of the worst. My Stepmother's an Alien, The Wraith, Ninja Terminator. We watch a lot of those movies, and it's me, Jason Mantzoukas, and June Diane Rayfield.
I mean, how did this get made? Such an amazing podcast, and also, like, I don't even think you need to advertise because I'm pretty sure that anyone who listens to Slash Filmcast probably also listens to How Did This Get Made,
you're nice.
including myself. So thanks so much for joining us today. Find more episodes of this podcast at slashfilmcast.com. Email us at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. Let me ask you, Jeff Kanata, where can you find more of your work on the internet this week?
Oh, you can always follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jeff Kanata with 2 N's and 1 T. I have several other shows for you, including video game shows, DLC at 5x5.tv/DLC. I have a daily video game show called Newest, Latest, Best at anchor.fm/NLB. And I have a comedy science show called We Have Concerns, which you can find at wehaveconcerns.com.
How about you, Devendra?
Jeff, can I ask you real quick? Have you played that Star Trek VR game? I'm addicted to it over here.
I love it. Bridge Crew,
So
yes.
good.
So good.
So good.
I keep hearing about it.
I want a Galaxy Quest mod on that.
How long have you just stayed in the loading area and just dicked around with your friends? That's basically what we do for like 45 minutes before we even play.
See, I have not yet played with anybody that I actually know, so I'm going all the time with strangers. I'm up in that stranger game, and so, Yeah, so I'd like to get my friends in there. I want to because I would love to do that. But no,
It's so
I'm
fun.
yeah, I can't wait.
We should do this. I've been thinking of picking that up. We should do some Bridge Crew together.
Let's
If we
record
can.
a stream, guys.
I would do a stream of Bridge
All right.
Crew getting
Yeah.
in there.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll tweet at you, Paul, about this.
I love.
All right, Devindra, where can I find more of your work?
Well, I'm at Devindra on Twitter, and I write about tech at Engadget.com.
Find all my stuff at davechen.net. I think I'm going to publish a review there of Master of None Season 2. Had a lot of stuff to say about that. Just loved that season of television. With your old coworker,
That's
Aziz
right.
Ansari,
Aziz
right?
Ansari, yes,
you guys
100%.
Human Giant together. And find me on Twitter at Dave Chensky. That's Dave Chen, SKY. Next week, we'll be reviewing Edgar Wright's newest film, Baby Driver. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of slashfilm.com. We're out.
Bye.